Welcome to Fandom Shmandom, the fandom podcast that covers everything you love and more. I'm Sierra Obermark.
And I am Sam Williams. Today's episode, we will be maliciously malcontenting about Star Wars, Maul, Shadow Lord, episodes 5 through 10. Spoiler warning, we will be discussing all Maul-related content we have discussed thus far. Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, and possibly some Rebels as well. Without further ado, we will, as Roger Smith says, dive on in.
Swallow that pill. It's our Matrix category for initial impressions, since this is still a brand new show. So, biggest impression so far. I'm still loving it.
Yeah.
I think it is amazing. The art style continues to really impress me and amaze me. I'm actually inspired to start painting again because of this show. So it's pretty impressive. All my painting materials are sitting in a back corner of my office, and I haven't touched them in forever. And I really am itching to get them out because of this show.
Same. The thing that got me into art in the first place were the concept paintings for A New Hope when I saw them as a little kid. And I was like, I want to be able to make science fiction art like this. I want to be able to take my vision and put it on canvas. Hasn't happened. Right now, I'm working on the Radcliffe Library in Oxford because I was there over the summer in 2025. We'll see if I ever get to that point. But I, too, have been like, I just want to do back paintings like this. This seems incredible. The vision of this, all of it, and then the way that they translate that onto the characters' faces so that there is this seamless transition in what's going on. In fact, something that I noticed episodes 7 and 8 was how many times where I was like, man, I'm looking at art and then something would move, like ships would go through or characters would start to go or the clouds would shift. And you'd be like, man, they're really giving you a moment to settle and look at how beautiful this is, which is not something traditionally that Star Wars has done. The first movie, A New Hope, was far beloved, was nominated for Best Picture back when they only had 5. Like, that's very unusual for a science fiction movie. And yet, one of the major complaints was that there's not a moment of beauty except for the twin sunset that Luke looks out onto when he's being called by the Force, right? That was the only moment. So I'm very much enjoying sort of the beauty of Star Wars. I feel like I'm flipping through the art book, which good on them for realizing people really dig the art concepts of this universe.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it's really cool that we are getting something different here because we've seen Star Wars in many different contexts. We've seen animated Star Wars in multiple different formats as well. And this is, again, something they're taking inspiration, but they're also almost reinventing what Star Wars could look like and innovating. And it's wonderful because I feel like that's really how George Lucas started everything, was with innovation. And that's how he continued it with the prequel trilogy, as we talked about in those episodes, really pushing the limits on what is possible through the advances in technology that he had up until that point. And now we're getting Star Wars again, kind of pushing the envelope. What is animation and what can it give us? So it's amazing. Yeah. I'm really, really, really loving it. And then on top of it, we have the whole story and all of the characters as well, who are really, really wonderful. And as part of kind of this impressions section, I really want to talk about how our characters are doing because we touched on them in the last episode about kind of our initial impressions of these characters. And so they're already changing and growing. And so I want to touch on kind of each of our main guys here to kind of go through that. So we can start with the man himself, Maul.
The man, the myth, the legend, Maul.
I know we need a third M for his effective alliteration.
Effective alliteration, indeed.
Maul is continuing to be more careful with how he's approaching people and how he's operating in his kind of shadow realm. But he is still obsessed with his obsessions. And this time, that obsession is getting a Padawan, specifically Devin. He really wants her to follow him. And surprise, surprise, Seems to be working.
I think what's really interesting about this is everybody else around him is sort of like, hey, there's a lot of other ways to get at Palpatine. And his like main goal is to kill, mess with, defeat Palpatine in some way. And he's very focused. His obsession is on another obsession, if you know what I mean. Like, the obsession of Palpatine is this big blue whale. And so everyone's looking at this big blue whale being like, there's a lot of ways to attack this. And he's like, no, I must go through the head of this one barnacle and get this exact Padawan.
I do wonder, though, if part of that is because of his connection to the Force, and if somehow the Force, either he thinks that the Force is leading him in this way, or the Force actually may be leading him in this very specific way. And so he's just going full on into what he thinks is the best plan. So that is super interesting. We also see so many varied emotions from him here, especially in episode 8. But I feel like kind of the second half of this chunk of episodes, like 8, 9, and 10, really, we see not just his anger and his desire for vengeance and all of that, but sadness and fear and concern and this almost forgiveness and these protective qualities, which are so interesting to dive into. And, you know, he's been beaten down over the course of this season in a very real way, but we're seeing kind of all of this show the different sides of him. And so everything that he's going through is really digging into who he is.
The thing that was very illuminating about Maul's character to me was the concern, because that's not something that we've typically seen with our Sith. And, you know, we've seen Inquisitors, and then there are Sith. And we'll get to that a little bit later in this episode, the difference between what are you if you're not an Inquisitor? Hey, but this is a Sith Lord. But Maul was at one point a Sith. And so you're used to Palpatine being like evil, no concern for everyone else. We're very used to Vader, who's like, I have no concern until I'm starting to become good, but that concern is only light side. And so this is our first Sith in sort of what's canon right now that's been like, hey, there's like genuine concern for other people going on, especially Rook Cast, the Mandalorian second in command. He has legitimate like, hey, be careful. We got to do this. I've got trust in you. Here we go. And then when, you know, as she gets zerped out into the fog in her final scene, he's genuinely like afraid, but also concerned for Spybot as well during a couple of different moments. And for Daki, for the Jedi Master Daki, during the fight when he's feeling protective of the whole unit and everyone's sort of suspecting him to be, as Lawson says, they're going to betray us as soon as we're through to the other side. Like, that's the audience expectation of Maul. And instead, he and Daki are protecting each other, which I find is really dynamic of his character and much more compelling to watch this show as it evolves. As you were mentioning, Sierra, with his being beaten down constantly, he's showing absolute fear at parts, especially as his weaknesses become exposed. And those weaknesses during the sword fighting are very much put on display.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's interesting with Maul's weaknesses being exposed. It's literal because he is injured in a way because of how he is currently composed. He is injured in a way where his internal components are literally exposed. And that is a problem. And it prevents him from being able to move as he should and fight as he should. And so there is a very real fear in him even before we get Vader. And when that occurs, you can see that fear becomes survival. And he shifts very dramatically once he realizes how outmatched he is.
The interesting thing here, too, is he's literally weak at parts because of his mechanical legs. And whereas you can get hit by a lightsaber in your leg in the same way, and your leg still might be able to move a little bit more, his electronics being completely broken and him like just sort of banging on it like it's a 1990s computer trying to get his leg to work is like, oh, this is an interesting component that I've not really thought that much about in the show or in the Star Wars realm at all, which is like you are at a severe disadvantage if you have electrical components during a sword fight or a gunfight, because if those electrical components fail, that's it. If you get hit in the finger and that blaster takes out a component that makes your whole hand work, it's done. It's not as complex as the actual anatomy. I was about to say human anatomy. He's Death-Amirian anatomy. So it is. I find that very, very cool of this show to bring another aspect of Star Wars into my thought.
Right. So Lawson are kind of foil to Maul in so many scenes, and now partner in not quite crime, but running away, suspected of crime.
Partner in something.
Partner in something. So he has been developing here because he's not always been very, very rule following, which is ironic considering Lawson being his name. But he's not quite as rule following from the beginning as one might assume. But he definitely is more willing to break the law when it's the Empire's law that he's breaking instead of his city or his planet. So he has this kind of hero complex that starts coming out where he has to be the one to go and investigate, and he has to be the one to save the people, and he has to be the one to, and then literally sacrifice himself. So we think, I don't declare a death until I've actually seen the death, and even then, but
I'm willing to bet money, Sierra. I'm willing to bet money that he is alive.
I'm sure he's alive.
I'll touch on that in a second with my section here. Listen, Lawson is fascinating. I found myself like chastising myself as a fan of Star Wars because it's like, man, Lawson for his last name, this is kind of on the nose. Then I was like, what is Luke Skywalker's name? What is Han Solo's name? Like,
what is
wait,
Maul, Savage, Icarus,
Dark Lighter for Briggs. That has nothing to do with this conversation. I just can't stand that last name. Star Killer at one point.
Right.
Anakin.
We're very
Star
literal
Killer
here.
In charge of the Death Star. So it's very in Star Wars to have this Lawson name. Sure. I found his character rather static. He's very much like, I'm sort of this middle ground. I try to do right. I understand that the law is not a definite or an absolute. It is a murky thing that you have to traverse in what's right or what's wrong, especially as this new power has come up. And I disagree with this new power, so I'll try and do the right thing. All of that's very good, but it's quite static. That's who he is at the beginning. Yeah. He develops in that same rate as we go along. The thing that makes him dynamic, the thing where I get interested in his character is when he gets home and Riley is with the two Jedi and he's like, you gotta go. And I was there really, oh, nice. So his son does become his priority. We are seeing a shift in his character from, I will do everything. It puts me in danger, fine. But as soon as you get my son involved, my priorities are going to shift. I'm going to change. I'm going to become a dynamic character, and I'm going to prioritize my son. Now, that doesn't work out very well because the Inquisitors are at his doorstep.
Right.
But I was really interested in that moment moving forward with his character. And as I said before, he sees Maul push Daki to the Vader fight. He witnesses it. And that's like, oh no, somebody has now seen the fact that Maul is kind of the reason why Daki dies and why Devin then goes berserker on the dark side. And then he like fades out into the fog while he's being shot. So there's, I think, absolutely zero chance that they have killed his character off, because it is going to be a plot point that he eventually tells Devin, or he tells somebody who tells Devin that Maul did that. And we will have a great fight between Maul and Devin in season 16.
I also think, to your point about when he becomes dynamic, when Riley becomes involved in everything, really comes to a head when he and Riley have their conversation, where it's almost like a death's door conversation where he goes, I was not there for you. I'm trying to be there for you. And Riley kind of responds, well, the bright side is this is the most time we've spent together, which is so rough. But
I am a bad dad.
Maybe I should be better going forward.
Yeah.
But he apologizes. And I think that especially as a parent who is for the first time seeing his own shortcomings, that's such a critical moment. And so that still leaves a lot of room to be developed. And so that's another reason why I don't think that he's gone. Riley still needs his father to be in his life, and Riley's going to go on his own journey for a little bit while he thinks his dad is dead.
Yeah.
And then we'll continue on from there when they're reunited and be able to rekindle that relationship. So
totally.
I think that that's another reason why he has become this dynamic character, and also why he's not gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Riley, I find his character, I think, the most sort of unknown at the moment.
Yeah.
He's a super athlete. He's very beta in everything that he does until about episodes 8 and 9, when the 8 and 9 range, where he starts shooting people with stun, like not quite ready to kill anybody.
Right.
Like Devin, who I assume they're around the same age. That's the way that the show is, I think, kind of set it up. So he's stunning people and he's disobeying his dad's orders, and that's all very interesting, but he's still fairly static-y. But and sort of like where are we headed? He's the one that I have the most questions about. Where are we headed with his character and his storyline?
Right. Yeah, I think the only development that we've seen kind of so far, besides him, taking the stun blasters to some stormtroopers, is that he is starting to change to not necessarily always have to be protected by other people, but taking some of that protection of himself into his own hands. So, we see earlier on, he's concerned about his dad, so he calls his mom, and he, wants to know kind of what's going on with the Empire and why they're doing what they're doing. And so he still is relying on other people to kind of tell him what to do and keep him safe. But then when he's captured, when he and Devin are trying to run away, that I think is the moment when he realizes, I can't rely on other people all the time. I have to take some responsibility for myself. And I also think that he now understands more what the Empire truly is, and is starting to be willing to change his mind about it, especially because he's witnessed multiple circumstances where the Empire's blindly firing into a heavily populated city with absolutely no regard for civilian casualties. And he's now been front and center to that, which I think is a big thing for a young guy to be kind of wrapping his head around, as he's also dealing with everything else going on.
Who's not wrapping their head very well around anything and changing or adapting to it is Jedi Master Daki.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I was trying to think as I was going through, is there any way that he really changes or adapts or acknowledges something other than what he's previously thought? And anytime that I got to a moment where I think, well, he's starting to take maybe Devin's ideas into account a little bit more, or he's starting to rely on other people to make the plan. Then Maul comes in and is trying to convince Devin, and Daki just jumps in again and is like, no, don't do it. And it's like, okay, but we were learning that she needs to come to this idea on her own. And you can't just tell her no. Yeah. So maybe we took another step backwards here. So,
well, and
unfortunately,
I was interested in the fact that he says Maul and us may have the same enemy, but we will never be allies. And then allowing the alliance to happen, that I thought showed growth and wisdom. There is a nicety in his staticness, and the fact that we are getting to see this sort of Jedi goodness. We will protect each other. We are strong. Like, he's even teaching Maul. He just can't turn the teacher off, right? He's like wrapping his arm around Maul's waist, being like, we will be stronger together if we protect one another. And even Maul, who's the most sort of seductive dark side whisperer, is letting the temptation of the light side sort of get to him in those moments.
A little bit.
The problem is that he isn't wise enough in the midst of battle to keep everybody together either. And so when that separation happens, and he just sticks to his, well, I got to protect and I got to be on defense and everything. And he is trapped to his credit that he's unable to sort of outlive his own mindset. And that ultimately is his downfall. But I do also really appreciate that he is sort of this token in this beginning, this symbol of the old Jedi Order, of the reason why the Jedi failed. And I think it's glaring at times, but I think it's really necessary for the fandom to get more of this exposure to like why this didn't work. Unlike in something like Jedi Force Awakens, where we see, hey, I want the Jedi way to come back. Look how cool this is. Look how good they are. Look how great this is. This is a galaxy that needs this. Here, on the opposite side, we're seeing Daki unable to change, unwilling to adapt, and so losing his life over that.
Right.
And ultimately losing Devin.
Right. And losing Devin. And to Devin's credit, she is being very well played.
Yes.
It's not all on her. Maul has set up these circumstances very well to get her interested. And so that's the change that we see throughout the show, is with Devin being more receptive to Maul and his ideas. And he's just planting these little seeds along the way and growing their connection to each other so that when it comes time for him to send her a message, she's able to receive it. She doesn't think it's a trap. She is all in on it. She thinks it's going to be okay, which, to be fair, it wasn't necessarily a trap. I mean, it was self-serving, sure, but it wasn't like they were going to arrive and be killed
Akbar
immediately.
Isn't there, it's not a trap.
Devin is definitely more tempted to fall into negative emotions as fuel. And that's even before Daki is killed.
Her big moment, right.
But that is that moment. So as soon as Daki is killed, she goes absolutely berserk and becomes this almost unrecognizable character for a little bit until we get back into the ship and she's staring down at the lightsaber and you can see her actually start to process what has just happened. Right. And then it cuts. So I'm assuming we're going to be picking back up not too terribly long after this so that we can see how she's actually dealing with the loss of Daki. But
how much you want to bet that in season 2, the opening, I don't know if it's going to be the opening scene because they may show like Lawson being alive or Palpatine and Vader talking or something else that will be a hook. But I bet the opening scene with Maul and Devin, they'll be in the same scene together and he'll be training her.
Oh, for sure.
For sure, right?
100%.
Additionally, I think it's really cool that she's not easily swayed. It's not like he's like, pitch, and she's like, right, hit a home run with a red lightsaber. Got it. I bled my dark side crystal. I bled the dark side into my crystal as you were speaking, right? They didn't do that. So she's not easily swayed, unlike Anakin, as you said, but she does see the pragmatism of it.
Right.
And this is the most interesting moment in all of this to me is the fact that Maul and Daki are fighting Vader together. Maul hears Devin grunt or scream in effort, not so much fear or agony, but in effort. And he realizes, oh, my plans of having this Padawan are going to fail if I die or if she dies. And we could probably go take on that guy together. I don't know that I can win this fight with Vader, and she definitely can't win without me. And I wonder how much his fight with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon is in his head. Because Obi-Wan certainly is tempted and uses the dark side in the fight with Maul. Right? He comes out lightsaber blazing. There's that awful shout. He comes rushing out. There's that incredibly quick, fast choreography. And he uses, and he's fighting with the dark side, fighting with the dark side, fighting with the dark side, and then loses to Maul. And only when he calms himself down while hanging and uses the light side does he eventually win. But I wonder if that's on Maul's head at all, where he's like, I bet I can get her to push to the dark side if her master dies, just like the way Obi-Wan's master died with Qui-Gon.
I think so. And I also think that he has now learned that Jedi don't necessarily feel the same way about their masters as Sith feel about their masters. Because with his conversation with Ahsoka, you want to kill Anakin. Yeah. So he has that whole conversation.
Yeah.
And that is his fatal flaw in that moment, is he suggests that she must hate her master too. And she doesn't.
Right.
But would she be devastated if he was gone? Yes, quite certainly. Therefore, he sees Devin and Daki acting in much the same way as he's envisioning Anakin and Ahsoka, and the alliteration of the names is just dawning on me, and I hate that. But
oh, realizations, how quaint are you?
Oh, yes. But he's taking what he's learned and he is now adapting it. And I think that between his experience of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and then also now Devin and Daki, and Ahsoka's reaction to, hey, you must hate Anakin, he's putting it all together and he knows exactly how he can sway her now.
Yeah. That's a great point. It's a great point. With a complete sort of about face turn from what we've just been discussing. Two Boots, our favorite droid.
How could you recognize me?
Now, I will put. He's my favorite droid now.
Wow.
His storyline is sneakily the most interesting to me.
I love him.
He's great. The reason why he's the most interesting to me is because there's so many questions about how does artificial intelligence work in the Star Wars world. Mm-hmm. And like, all right, so this is a deep pull, but R5 is the red droid in A New Hope that blows its motivator out when Uncle Owen selects it instead of the R2-D2 unit that desperately needs to go with C-3PO. His origin stories have been changed a couple of different times. You know, initially he was just like a droid that broke down because the Jawas are cheap and they try and scam you all the time. And then like R2 and R5 had like a conversation about how important it is. And then later on, R5 gets a little comic about being force sensitive. And so to me, the question surrounding Two Boots, who breaks his protocol, which you would think as a droid, input this command, therefore I shall now do this command. Like he was unwilling to break his protocol earlier. I do wonder, what is the force that is having him do this? Now, I know the force surrounds all living things and binds us together and has to be in bloodstreams. But I do wonder if there's a smidgen here of like, there is a goodness in everything that's coming out in this droid that has something to do with the way, maybe it's not mechanically the force, but I feel like there's some sort of push here.
Right. So this theory that I saw is maybe pushing the limit a little too much as to what I would actually believe. However, there was a fan theory that I read where droids are actually sentient beings enslaved in robotic bodies due to advanced technology, which is why they cry out in pain and fear and can learn and grow and break protocol, because they are actually sentient souls, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And Two Boots is kind of good fodder for that theory. Because
it's a fascinating theory.
It is very fascinating. It might be too much, but it does explain a lot of what we see from droids and droids who really go above and beyond what we think their programming would be. And, you know, I don't know that that's what we're seeing here. I don't know if they're really diving into something as in-depth as that with Two Boots, but we do see him pretty quickly form an attachment to Riley, and that attachment to him is what allows him to kind of override his baser programming.
And it gives him a sense of morality rather than 0 or 1.
Right. And not just that, but I feel like we kind of go backwards a little bit, because he has that moment when they're looking at the toxic waste and he goes, "Illegal dumping, I shall report this immediately." And then it's like, oh, wait.
I just find it interesting that a law robot, so like that moment there, he's like, maybe that's not the top priority. The fact that a law robot can break the law is that, I think it's just, there's just a lot going on there where I'm like, Okay, so are these just bad programmers? Is it an algorithm that is designed to improve itself, and so it's sort of uncontrollable? Or is there a sense of an impending force towards goodness where this robot, this droid, is able to do that? Now, it's funny that you mentioned the sentient like being. So is the theory that you get a life-term prison sentence and they take your consciousness out of your body and into a robot? Or is it just that like artificial intelligence is sentience?
It was somewhere in the middle, essentially, that instead of having slaves in meat bodies, they transported the sentience into a robotic body.
From where though? Like, are they?
I don't know. There wasn't a fully fleshed out backstory to
deep.
it. No, I'm sure that somewhere out there is the fully fleshed out backstory of exactly what that was. But the point was that that's why they're consistently reprogrammed and rebooted, is because they start gaining their previous knowledge and who they were before, essentially.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Which is spooky.
I'm going to make a TikTok about this, and I'm going to ask the fans out there, what do you think's going on with droids?
I love it.
So we'll put that out on the web. So if you guys go to @Fandom Shmandom Pod on TikTok, you will see that. Also, the sentience thing is fascinating as well, Sierra, because I think it was Quentin Tarantino who was asked, like, would you ever make Star Wars movies? And he was like, yeah, I would. But you'd have to redo the prequels. Why? Because I think that the story should only be from the perspective of the slaves. And the interviewer's like, who are the slaves? And he's like, the droids. You kind of have to redo it. But in the original trilogy, they are slaves. They are beings that get no pay, that do a ton of work, that, get treated well when, I'm putting that in air quotes, when they're like, get an oil bath or get fixed or all of that stuff. But they have a sentience to them. And that stuck with me for a long time, and being like, ooh, that gives me the same uncomfortable feelings as animal cruelty in the Pokemon world. I'm going to put that in the back of my brain and remember that this is all made up.
It's not real. Slowpoke Tail can't hurt you.
Slowpoke Tail can't hurt you, but it hurts him. It hurts him. And for Fandom Shmandom 2037, we will be going over every single animated Pokemon.
Oh my Lord Almighty, no. Too much.
Keep your finger on the pause button and rewind that tape. It's the prestige category. What did we notice on this watch through? I am amazed at how well this is painted in the details between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. What I mean by that is, and I use this word quite a bit, it's additive, which is a word that connotatively doesn't necessarily mean something super positive. But to me, it's when something is additive, it means it's not making things worse. It's not retconning. It's not changing things in a way that you don't expect and kind of don't work. It's an inform, and it fits very well within what's canonical. So that's what I mean by it's additive. And I'm very impressed by the little details that are being thrown in here. I think it works really well with everything that's sort of between Order 66 and A New Hope, whether that's Jedi Fallen Order and the way that the Empire is sort of perceived and the way that Jedi are sort of running away from but also interacting with the Sith and the Inquisitors. It works well with Obi-Wan. It works well with Andor. It works well with Bad Batch. I am incredibly impressed by this show, and it is my favorite animated production that they have created so far. And maybe I'm still trying to not be too much like, what have you done for me lately sort of a guy, but I think it might be my second favorite Star Wars project that has come out of Disney, although I'm a huge Force Awakens Last Jedi fan. But in terms of like their shows, I think it's my second favorite behind Andor.
Ooh, I definitely think this is my favorite animated, which is shocking because I am so huge on Clone Wars. So it's a rough admission for me, but I do believe in it.
I think as Garrett said in our in one of his expert episodes, Clone Wars is a tale of two different shows. Seasons 1 through 3, very different than seasons 4 through 7. And I have this ranked right up there with seasons 6 and 7 of Clone Wars. I think it's just as good, but because it's the first season, I have it ranked higher because they smashed it out of the ballpark, in my opinion.
They really did.
Second thing second.
Second thing second. Something that Maul has not learned, but maybe has now learned, is that loyal followers and friends are much better than mercenaries.
Yep.
Mercenaries follow the money. If there's no money, there's no mercs, and they will abandon you.
Yeah.
And just leave. And they're not to be trusted. And we see this in a lot of things. However, unfortunately, with Maul's current circumstances, there was no really other good option for him. Now he'll be able to worm his way back through the syndicates, so potentially he can avoid some mercenary standings.
That's the coolest part of this storyline. That's the coolest part of the storyline is him, like, sort of juggling mercenaries and then loyalty people, and just then you see we're going to see where he ends up in Solo, where he's in charge of Crimson Dawn, and being like, oh man, you are going to go get yourself a little loyalty powerhouse that can just provide you infinite slugs, basically.
Yep. Which is going to be amazing.
This is all very like Avatar The Last Airbender coded in a way, where he's like, oh, I should rely on my friends and not the mercenaries around me. It's very Zuko, where he's like, I should go where my loyalties are. My loyalty is my uncle. My loyalty are these friends who treat me, or these enemies that treat me very well.
Right. Well, and Maul gets adopted into a band of enemies who treat me very well. Ironically. The other thing that is very Avatar The Last Airbender coded is Riley's mom, who very much gives me there is no war in Ba Sing Se vibes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The Empire is fine. They're there to help. It's all going to be okay as long as you just listen to them. They're not going to torture my daughter. They're not going to torture. Yeah. They're not going to torture my son for information about his father. No. Why would they do that?
Why would they do that? Also run, but I didn't say that on Imperial comms. No.
Also, just stay exactly where you are. Let them find you. It'll be fine.
She's going to do a General Hux at some point where she's like, but Lawson husband, who's now alive, don't you see? I'm the spy.
Oh, man. But poor Lawson, he is just thrown into the deep of everything. And even his son starts making his life difficult by admitting those dang Jedi into his own house. He's just trying to do his job. The poor man.
Yeah, absolutely. Although everything to do with the Force and the Jedi are really interesting. And it was cool to see Maul in sort of Sith training mode as well.
Watching him do that sequence where he is just alone and he's doing forms and he's just focusing and centering and practicing was kind of everything to me. Because very rarely in short form shows or animated shows,
like 25-minute shows,
do they take the time and take the space to be able to just sit in a moment like that? And I think that it's so key to really understanding that Maul is not this. He's not just all action all the time. He is not just running from one thing to the next or on his conniving little missions or full of anger at all moments. He does take the time to hone his craft.
Yeah.
And so I really loved that sequence.
Okay, so I've got an observation and a question for you. I'll start with the question first. As somebody with a black belt, why is this so important that he's going through his forms? Like, why is this central to his character?
You have to go back to the basics. When you go back to your basics and you have your forms, you are continuing to strengthen the base of the pyramid or the house or whatever you want to think of it as, of the rest of your knowledge of that martial art. So if you do not have a firm foundation on which to build the rest of your abilities, you'll fall apart. And so you have to consistently go back and practice and evolve, but also perfect your easiest moves, your simplest order of operations, and be able to do that one kick, that one punch, and really get that down. because everything else is built upon it. If you don't have that solid place on which to stand, everything else is going to fall apart. Maul can't do his crazy flips or his spinning of the lightsaber and turning around and jumping over somebody if he can't just turn the lightsaber in one direction. You have to start from the baseline, and that is how you're able to develop. And it's almost the full saying, jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
Being a jack of all trades might sound really good, but the rest of that is master of none. You want to be master of one. We see that in some other things as well. Harry, for instance, in Harry Potter, he is a master of
Zuko,
very
to bring
small
it back
things.
to Avatar,
Yep.
Zuko and his breath that he uses.
Yes, exactly.
And his airbending forms that he's mastered completely, which is why he's so talented. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's been an interesting comparison between this scene and Rey's forms scene, which is the other sort of time that we get to see somebody actually training to be a Jedi. And there's been like this scene is so much cooler and better than what Rey did. And I'm just taking the soapbox moments to say, I think it is insane to compare the mediums of animated and live action. And at times TV shows and movies. I think Rey's scene in context is actually quite impactful and interesting. I think anytime you take a whole movie and you start picking apart tiny scenes, you are not understanding the holistic nature of a movie. And if Star Wars fans, if episode 4 came out today, people would be all, why isn't his hair dirty? He just got out of the trash compactor scene. Why is his hair gone through a blow dryer? Hey, that stormtrooper, he hit his head on the top of that thing. They kept that in. You didn't want to do a reshoot? Like, the Star Wars fans would be all over that. And so I think that it's comparing an animated show to a live action movie is like comparing an oil painting to a watercolor. They can look similar. They can be about the same subject matter. They are two different mediums. And I think everybody needs to just chill a little bit. I went back and I rewatched the like sort of 20-minute arc where that Rey's form scene is included. And it is appropriate and well timed and well choreographed for that moment. Maul is also way more practiced than her. And I will also continue to say this. I think the most visually interesting way to do swords fights is an animation for the most part. Because in actuality, in real life, if you are like, I've done the little fencing, not a ton, but sword fights aren't nearly as interesting in real life as you get in the movies or in animated shows. And so in animation, you get all these cool moments, these beats that you can do where you can pause and focus and create this rippling energy in the art. And you can do that with special effects now, but it's harder. And so I just think everyone needs to go down a little bit on this scene. It's really good. I found it very important to Maul's character to see him in his meditative state doing his forms. But to compare it to like live action stuff, I just feel like it's ridiculous.
I also think it's a little silly to compare, you mentioned this, but I'm going to harp on it, a very, very basic beginner to Jedi and the Force versus Maul, who has been a part of this since he was a young child. Yeah. Two very, very different situations.
Absolutely. One of the big successes of this show has been making the Inquisitors feel actually scary.
Yes. The designs for them are phenomenal. I love how Marok and the 11th brother, the two Inquisitors that we see, their designs are also so vastly different from each other. Marok has this very traditional, almost European knight look about him, where he has the helm and the armor, and everything about him is a little bit more European. The 11th brother, I think that he has two kind of vibes blended together. The first is that I think he looks a little like the ring wraiths in Lord of the Rings, kind of this Witch King-esque with the pointed mask and the billowing black cloak and all of that. But then the other thing that I was really getting, especially when he kind of suddenly comes in and out of shadow or fog, is that I think he looks like Prowler from Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Yeah, his uncle,
especially in the Into the Spider-Verse movie.
I totally agree with that. I think the movement, the cape billowing, and the way that he goes about everything is very coded in the way that they did Prowler. I wouldn't be surprised if animators came out and was like, oh yeah, that was a big influence for us. I think he looks like a vulture. I think he's a very scary vulture, and I really like this sort of like death bird coming for you, like I will eat your remains. I think he's very scary. It's a little bit of a bummer. If you've seen Ahsoka's Tale of a Jedi, you know what happens to this guy. And if you've seen Ahsoka, the TV show, you know what happens to the other guy. So I was going through the season going, well, both of them are going to be alive. So no killing Inquisitors here. Which I always think takes a little bit away from the interest where I'm like, no, I know they're not going to die. But I thought because of that, you know that they're this like imposing death march towards you. Like, okay, I know these two guys are living. I don't know about Devin. I don't know about Daki. I don't know about the Lawsons. I don't know about Two Boots. And I don't know about Spy.
No. The sudden Maul backstory in episode 8, I am here for. I absolutely loved this sequence where he's staring into the water and he's really grappling with his own demons. And he's healing his inner child and he's mourning Savage. And this line of, I won't let him do this to anyone else is so powerful.
That is an incredibly good moment. I also wonder, we see Vader in the comics get visions from the dark side. And those visions are always a big question of like, are these factual or does the dark side lie?
Interesting.
And so here, it's even more of a question because it's like, are these light side visions with Maul suddenly becoming a little protective in a good way, a little nice, a little vulnerable? Or are these dark side visions just trying to create more and more chaos? Right? Does the dark side want to balance itself to be permeated around more people and get rid of this rule of two and kill Palpatine? Or is it the light side trying to rebalance the force by getting Maul on the light side itself?
So interesting.
I also think it's very funny to me that Maul is like, the dark side saved my life, so I must be the dark side because that's fueling my selfishness, and I can't betray the dark side because I'm only alive because I was so angry. But also, I hate my master, so I like what he's about, but I don't like him.
Yeah, he has this dichotomy, which I'm sure we'll explore more. But it will be interesting to see kind of what ends up winning out.
Yeah. We're about to talk a lot about death, Maul's bad guys helping him out, etc., etc. I will say, Sierra, you got in this document before I did. And as I was reading through the document, you read about a lot of deaths, a lot of danger, and you forgot an entirely important moment.
Oh, I know I did.
So I revoke your privileges of doing the dun-dun-duns. I will be doing them this time. I will cue the Williams dun-dun-dun for a Spybot who died a horrible death. Spybot is a droid. He isn't evil. He's just doing his master's bidding. And he had a horrific death while trying to not be evil and save everybody. It was reprehensible. And it was reprehensible of you to forget. So go to the corner, sit there for 5 minutes, and we'll all wait. Silence for 5 minutes, please. I'm kidding. I was legitimately gasped. I don't gasp much, especially in TV shows. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. You can normally see something coming, but because I love him so much, I was like, my boy, my tiny robot boy, my tiny hat wearing robot boy. I love you. Don't die. No, you're in the acid. No, they cut him. Maybe he'll survive. No, he's in the acid. Oh no. Oh no, he did.
Yeah, I honestly did too. When he got cut, I went, oh, no,
no, my boy, father help.
I went no, and then as he's melting, I go, oh, Sam's gonna be so sad.
I was so sad.
We don't get to sit long in that moment though, because we have to go to this fight between Devin, Daki, Maul, Marok, and the 11th brother.
Yeah.
And there is this moment that I want to point out in this fight where the action stops for 1 second because all of them have clashed lightsabers together in such a way that none of them can move for a moment. And I don't know why, but that happened. And I took this big breath because
Yeah.
it was
You
very
got to release
impactful.
tension. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's the key part of why this moment works is that there's been so much tension that has built up rather steadily, right?
Mm-hmm.
Docky turns around. He's like, someone is approaching. And then these two Inquisitors just are like, oh, they found us. Run, get them, run at them, boys. And then all these stormtroopers arrive. And there's this tension of like, we got to cross this acid lake and we can shoot at them. But these Jedis are all fighting. In general, I am usually not a big fan of stop to look at the cool moment, everybody. It's very didactic. I feel like it's the overvoice is like, look how cool our animation is. Look how cool this whole section is. And so I'm like, all right, I get it. Continue on. But I think I will admit, first and foremost, this is dope. It's a dope moment with just really rocking. And they only do the frame for like a second, even if that. They don't linger too long on it. And it was a needed breath and to be like, whoa, okay, we're back into it. And so I think that moment in particular was done well, even if I normally hate those moments.
Mm-hmm. Another moment which really shifted my view on kind of where Maul's character is going right now is he takes the time to make sure that everyone else is safe before going himself multiple times during this to get over the lake. He's the last one to cross over the lake. He is the last one with Docky to get away from the Inquisitors when they are outside.
Yeah.
And it is very interesting to see him put himself in this, no, you all go ahead, I'll make sure you make it situation. And it's really I'm going to say interesting again, but it really just continues to develop our view of Maul and all of his nuances.
It's a great dynamic change in Maul's character, right? He's, as I said earlier, he's tempted by the light, and it is right. Temptation, right? He is sort of sliding into being good. He's treated well by others, and so he reciprocates. And at times, it seems like it's not even done on purpose, but because it slips into his subconscious until he is reminded of his purpose, and he gets reminded after poor Rook.
Oh, poor Rook.
So, first of all, a pretty terrible death. Like, actually affected me because I like Mandalorians. I thought Rook was a very good sidekick for Maul.
I did not think she was going to go that quickly.
Exactly. I thought we were going to have her for multiple seasons.
Yeah, having
her go that way, I think what an incredible entrance for the character that kills her. And I'll break it down why. She's killed by the breaking of a neck after screaming, right? There's this, she gets dragged away, then she screams, and then there's this breaking of bones and essentially her neck sound, and then nothing. It's very reminiscent of Ula's death in Return of the Jedi, where we see Ula, who is refusing to go and touch Jabba the Hutt, get thrown into the pit. We see her scream at whatever this thing is that's being, revealed behind a garage door. And then we just hear her screaming and then something else roaring, and she's dead. We don't see her again. So, and there's this misdirection too with Rook's line, something is out there. And then she's pulled on the ground, like as if tentacles had grabbed her. And then there's this sort of munching, breaking noise. And so it's almost like she's being eaten. And, oh no, a monster got her. What could this be? And it's complete misdirection because, oh no, it's worse.
Holy dramatic entrance, Batman. I mean, Vader.
Okay. My initial reaction, I must admit, was, do we have to go to the original characters all the time? Do we have to have Vader show up? Do we have to have Palpatine show up? And then it was gone in about a second.
Right. So here's my question for you.
Yeah.
Did you know Vader was going to show up before he showed up?
No.
Okay, I did. I figured it out because when Marok and the 11th brother are talking, there's at least, I think, 2 instances they say, let him know they're coming to him or they're still moving towards him or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there's another moment where they go, well, he's here or something of that nature. And I go, there can only be one he. That Inquisitors are talking about like this. And
I thought it was the Grand Inquisitor. I thought it was the guy in charge. And so for people who have a lot more Inquisitor experience, because again, you haven't seen Obi-Wan yet, where the Grand Inquisitor is a main character. You haven't seen Rebels yet, where he shows up. I thought it was good misdirection from them in scene. Now it turns out like people spoiled it being Vader within like 5 seconds of that show being aired. So a lot of people got it spoiled for them, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, I thought it was going to be Grand Inquisitor and then it was Vader. And like I said, I was instantly sort of like, really, guys, do we have to have Vader here? And then it turns out it was necessary.
It was necessary because all of a sudden it turned into the Vader show. He stole everything. It was, I couldn't, every time they flashed away from him, I go, no, wait, go back. Because he is so much more powerful than anybody else and everyone else combined. And I feel like this is the first time, am I crazy, that we truly see that in a very visceral way. Because in almost any other content, yes, obviously, he is very much a powerhouse. He can do all of these things so much better than everyone else. And he has all of this force behind him. And we know that this is where his character is headed through the prequels, that he is the most powerful. And even in Clone Wars, we see moments where he is and he's doing these things that should be impossible. But I feel like no other instance is this really on display like this.
I agree. So first and foremost, Sam Witwer gave a really interesting interview about all of this. He said 2 things that of note. Essentially, he says, Vader has figured out how to use the mechanical aspect of his limbs for power. How to not, unlike Maul, whose legs kind of get in the way, Vader is using them as the tools that they are meant to be. These are the fighting tools. And so he's able to unleash more strength than he was with his human limbs. Additionally, he said that the Inquisitors were recording fights with Maul. And that is one of the reasons why Vader goes immediately for Maul's weak spot. And so that Vader has had time to watch these films like an athlete, train, look for his weaknesses, and expose it instantly. Now, I thought, before I'd heard that interview, I was of the opinion that Vader was just that much quicker than the other 2 Inquisitors to expose Maul's clear defense issue, where he clearly doesn't guard his right hip as well as he needs to. And so I thought it was just Vader going, hey, I'm better than everybody else. I'm going to injure you as fast as possible. Either way, I still think it indicates a lot about Vader. He's studious. He's excellent at what he does, and he's able to get results, which is very, very Darth Vader oriented. He's obviously incredibly strong. He's way too difficult for any of these people in here, which we've seen a little bit like Jedi Survivor. We see how powerful Vader is. In the Obi-Wan show, we get a little bit more of like Vader in his prime, so to speak. But this is the first time that I felt like we needed to sort of recalibrate a lot of things. Because it's always been sort of like, okay, Obi-Wan and Maul were evenly matched. And even though Obi-Wan's young, he's still at that point, that's when he becomes a Jedi Knight. So Obi-Wan gets stronger. Maul probably doesn't get that much stronger, so maybe Obi-Wan's a little bit better. Obi-Wan beats Anakin. Okay, so Obi-Wan and Anakin are at least on the same footing. Therefore, Vader probably on the same footing as Anakin, so probably is a little bit better than Maul. And now I'm like, that fight just showed me that Maul is way outclassed. And like either Vader has shot up in his abilities because the dark side really is the quick and easy path that gives you the most amount of strength, and he's incredibly dangerous, or he's gone through some big transformation and training. I don't really understand it, but I think we have to recalibrate just how strong Vader is. And then ultimately that means you have to recalibrate. Okay, so Luke could probably take on Maul pretty easily by the time we get to Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, the only thing that I can think of is that potentially by the time that we see Vader and Luke together, Vader does succumb to age and that he's just not in his prime anymore. Obviously, we don't know exactly how the Force works in terms of
being 44.
Exactly. I mean, well, it could be something that it's not necessarily even the Force that's not as strong with him, but that his body, which already is mostly mechanical, could need some more tuning, and potentially it's not using the Force as well as it is here, because we've got about 18 years or so until we see him and Luke interacting. So I think there's a potential that is there, and it's Father Time coming down on us all. But I do think you're right, though. We need to reframe how we're thinking about the power that Luke truly has.
Right. Because the power that Vader has is just exponentially larger than I thought initially. Mm-hmm. You can also see very clearly here with Vader's fight with Daki, Maul, Devin at times, how much Anakin being able to see things before they happen, as Qui-Gon puts it, really comes into play with his sword fighting. Because he's not as fast as these guys, but it doesn't matter. Because his blade is in the right place every time. Also, we get to see a little bit more of his sort of Rogue One appearance cameo where he's like, yeah, I'm going to be really dramatic. Because they're in the basement of the ruin. There's all of these entrances to come over and get him. Maul being him. And he goes through a wall. What a diva.
Honestly, that was a jump scare for me.
Was it?
Yes, it was. I knew he was going to appear, but I had no idea it was going to be from that wall, and I did jump.
So I was looking at these walls going, I know that this is a guy that flies a TIE fighter with the Force so that he can stand on top of it. But please don't go through this wall. No. Oh, man. What a great... I think Vader's presence ended up being a very good climax for this because it puts everybody on the run very quickly. And I think it's going to show Maul even more. Because, he has no idea who Vader is. He doesn't know that that's Anakin. He doesn't know that there's another Sith. He doesn't even realize what's happening. And so you're going to see him want to protect himself much quicker, going to want to train Devin much faster. I think it's really going to put an accelerator on his plans. So it's really good for the end of the season for him to get a full picture of what's going on in the Empire, because he already knows Palpatine's in charge and the dark side, but he hadn't known about Vader. And so I think this makes for a really good climax for those two reasons of it setting up season 2 very well, but also everyone is really in mortal peril. And it's not just the Inquisitors who we've seen fighting and all right, so they're dangerous. And then Vader comes and proves to be such a problem that you're like, they just have to delay. They have to delay until the ship gets there. And that's all they can do. Very effective ending.
I do think there's a little part of me that believes Maul knows that it's Anakin. And the reason is because when they are running from him and there's the reveal that, oh, he is a Sith Lord, he's going, no, it can't be. And back when he is telling Ahsoka, Anakin's the key to all of this. Anakin is so powerful.
Yeah, good point.
He is the
Very
key.
Good point.
He knows what Palpatine was going to try to do with Anakin. And so I'm sure that at some point he has heard that Anakin is no longer. And so this is incredible to him because it is he has almost come back from the dead, as Maul did, to now be in this new form and is so powerful still. And that could also be part of Maul's disbelief is when Maul came back from essentially the dead, he was in this state of insanity and weakness. And yet Anakin is not there at all.
Totally.
So I think Maul has an inkling of who
at least
Vader is, but
he definitely has enough pieces to create a theory around it. That's a good point.
Exactly.
So Sierra, what are some of the main critiques that you have, or main critiques that you've heard? Additionally, what are some of the main praise you've heard, and what's some of the main praise you have?
I haven't heard too many critiques, to be honest.
I agree. I think it's a pretty beloved show.
Yes. And I don't know that I have too many myself. I guess my main critique is just I would like more now, please. Can
it's interesting.
It be longer? Can I have more? I think that what they gave us is perfect, I will say. And I think that me asking for more is not saying I think they left things out. It's just, I would like to continue the story. I really enjoy these characters. I really enjoy this world that we're sitting in, this microcosm of Star Wars. And I'm very much enjoying seeing the development. And I mean, everybody knows by now, I'm a huge Maul fan. So this is extra amazing for me to be able to get a whole show about him. So that's really what I'm saying. But I think that if they were to actually have expanded the length of the episodes or the run of the show, we may have lost some of the impact. And so that's something that I don't actually want, but I want more of it, please. I'm going to rewatch it about 20 times before the next season comes out.
So there's a couple different things in Fandom that are just in my thought. First of all, I'm a little worried that this is going to be the best project of May of 2026 that Star Wars puts out, which is not a good news for The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is sort of stumbling into its movie weekend.
Yeah.
The hype doesn't seem to be as big as I think Disney would like it to be, and they are starting to push quite hard as of May 7th when we're recording this. So I'm a little concerned about that the animated show is going to be much better than the movie that we're getting. Additionally, I'm very grateful that they didn't Book of Boba Darth Maul, where you take a beloved character and you create a show and it's bad and kind of nobody wants to deal with that character anymore. That's been really good. What I hope doesn't happen is sort of Fantastic Beast syndrome, where we get this incredible first installment with all of these characters with storylines that you're like, man, there's a lot to work with here. There is a point A to point B with this series where we have Maul, where he is now in Dryden Voss's ship, eventually going to be in charge of Crimson Dawn by the time Han Solo shows up and helps Kira take out Dryden Voss. So there's like development here. And now we've created this awesome non-sexualized Twi'lek character in Devon. We've got this awesome, not cliche female character who's a powerhouse really working in this show. Which makes me just so excited. And I don't want her story to get dropped. So what I don't want to happen is the Fantastic Beast syndrome, where we're like, okay, we are obviously gearing up towards the battle with Grindelwald. And oops, season 2 and season 3 didn't go very well. And now Disney has killed the project and we're just never seeing anything anymore.
Yeah.
Or even a little bit of Mandalorian stuff where it's like, hey, this show has somehow disappeared and now there's a movie coming out about it, and I don't know that I care that much anymore because the show has been so out of the zeitgeist for a long time. So we'll see.
Time to keep your horses safe. It's the I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse category of best lines. He's no longer a concern. Surviving is. Ducky.
Well done, Ducky. Good job. To no one's surprise, the only line that I have in here is from Spybot. So many impy shinies. Love it.
It's so good.
Love him.
Owls aren't so bad, except the smell in the darkness. Vario.
Vario, who we've not talked that much about, is such this wonderful little tiny gangster.
He's great at being the distraction because he's small and hard to...
How Timon and Pumbaa coded was that moment when he was like, you want me to dress and drag and do the hula?
Exactly. That's exactly what I thought of. Wait, me? I'm sorry. It's all right. It's all right. I won't let him do this to anyone else.
Maul's vision. Pretty good.
So good. So good. We did not talk enough about that sequence, but that's okay. Yes. I'll have my rant later.
I think we both love this line when Maul says to Vader, "You are no Inquisitor. What are you?"
So good.
So good.
The voice acting on that line is incredible. Honestly, I mean, just the voice acting of Maul in general. Yeah.
It's another Sam W out there. What I would do to play a vision of Maul with Sam Witwer in a booth where we could just improvise with each other in this like dark, brooding, savant tone. It's so good. I would love that. Dust off that card deck and get ready to shuffle. It's our Joker category for who is the MVP of this show so far. I lost on this last time. Pound for pound.
Okay.
Spybot. And he does actual good stuff this time other than just like hack systems and shoot people occasionally. The amount of effort that he goes through to get what is it called?
The skiff?
The skiff, yeah. The amount of effort that he goes through to get the skiff up and running and then realize that he can't power it. So he has to drag the thing back and forward. And he knows that he's the only one to do it. And the fact that he goes and does it and puts his life on the line when all of this other stuff, the only reason why any of the non-Force users are alive is because of Spybot.
It's true.
Two Boots, Riley, Lawson, stupid little guy that's a gangster, Vario, only alive because of Spybot. Mm-hmm. He saves 4 of the main characters.
He does. Well, and he does save more of them, but they do perish later.
Right. He saves Rook and the other Mandalorian mercs.
Mm-hmm.
We can't give us them all every time.
No, I know we can't. And to be fair, I mean, yes, Maul does get Devin, which was his ultimate goal. However, he's not in a very good place. He has lost everyone else.
He's been a major loser in this episode, especially in the last episode.
Yeah. So
I will give you this.
Yes.
Nobody else really wins at the end of this episode.
No.
The only other person, and I hesitate to even bring him up because he probably deserves it. I don't know. Vader carries so much weight to bring this to a close. And
I knew you were going to say Vader.
Like,
no, we can't give it to Vader because he doesn't succeed.
Right. But he carries the episode.
Yeah.
You're right, though. You're right. He doesn't succeed. Spybot succeeds. He dies when he succeeds.
Yeah. The only other person that I could see having an argument for this would be Lawson.
Yeah. He does succeed. He sacrifices himself.
Exactly.
He gets really good intel on Maul as well, which is why we think he's alive. That's a good point.
And he's able to orchestrate a way out, even though it doesn't end up working. He's able to confirm that it is indeed a trap and get them out of, then they're able to get out of there in time. He knows the way out of the city. He leads them all.
Oh, yeah. You're probably right.
And his whole purpose is to get Riley safe. And he does that,
but not without Spybot.
Not without Spybot.
My heart says Spybot. My head says it's for sure Lawson.
We can award posthumously to Spybot.
Okay, I will allow this, Seer. If it turns out Lawson is dead, we can posthumously give it to him as a tie. But because
he
Spybot
won't be dead,
made the ultimate sacrifice and giving up his little mechanical body and his maybe sentience locked inside, who knows?
Questions abound.
Questions abound. We shall now give it to Spybot.
Yay! Today's public service announcement. When trying to make it over a lake of toxic sludge, make sure that your skiff is working. If your skiff is not working, please find an alternate route.
Don't kill your droids while doing it.
Dun, dun, dun. Thank you, dear listeners, for listening to this episode of Fandom Shmandom. If you'd like to discuss this episode or any other episode we've done, please hit us up on our social media channels. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Fandom Shmandom Pod and on Patreon at patreon.com/CW/Fandom Shmandom.
Please don't forget to rate and review us if you liked the episode. It really helps the algorithm place us in front of other like-minded Smishers out there. And please come and comment and discuss anything with us on our social media channels. With that, we're out, y'all.
Don't forget to tip the impy shinies.
And fare thee well.
Fandom Shmandom was created by Sam Williams and Sierra Obermark. The show is produced and edited by Aurelia Lieb. The music is by Jeremiah Alves.
We will be discussing all Maul-related content. Phantom of the Opera. No, Phantom of the Opera.
It was on the brain.
It was. I just blanked on any sort of M. Like, both of us were just like...
I know. Yeah, we should come up with one, sure.
The mysticism. Nope.
The man, the myth, the mogul.
The mogul.
That's the only M word that came into my head.
For me, it was like the manacle. Does that work? No. R5 is an R2 unit. Okay, it's an R2. Yep. R5 is an R2 unit.
What is the word? Post ominously? I can't pronounce that word. Posthumously.
Somebody dies?
Yeah, like we can give it to him even though he's dead.
Are you looking up how to pronounce it?
I gotta listen to it, otherwise I'll...
Oh, posthumously.
Posthumously?
Yeah, posthumously. Right. Of course it's posthumously.
That was really weird. I looked up a pronunciation video and it's definitely a German guy.
Ein fine posthumously. Sorry, Aurelia. I'm so sorry.
It's alienating everyone.